Joining us now, my absolute favorite, it's Pat Buchanan, conservative author, columnist, commentator. The president touched down this morning in London, and it looks like he had a really successful summit, as far as I could tell, in Brussels. Pat joins us now. Pat, how you doing? Good to talk to you.
Doing fine, Laura. He had quite a summit over there in Brussels, didn't he?
I like how he goes in, and the camera's rolling for like just one of those nice photo op things, or maybe there's a little ambient sound. And he's like, and another thing. let's.
Was that Stoltenberg?
Yeah, we tried the nice way, didn't we? Go ahead.
Was that the NATO fellow Stoltenberg sitting across from him? Yeah, he really cut loose, and I think, that basically, if you take a look at what he said, it's a perfectly legitimate argument that Angela Merkel's Germany is going to make itself almost utterly dependent on Russian natural gas if they go through with that, that stream, Nord Stream
1 and 2
pipeline. Yeah, I mean that was an issue in the Reagan White House. That Nord Stream number 1. Mm-hmm. And secondly, the Germans aren't carrying their fair share of the load of NATO defense. And so I think Donald Trump is absolutely correct in reflecting the views of the American people on the fact that these folks are ripping us off with gigantic trade surpluses at our expense while we're paying the freight for their defense.
I think, Pat, also the idea that we had George W. Bush go over there and we had Barack Obama go over there and say, well, you need to pay more. We're paying a lot, and you guys aren't up at 2%. And we hope you're going to meet your commitments. That obviously didn't work. It didn't work. And Trump's trying a different way.
Exactly. I go back to the 1950s when John Foster Dulles was Secretary of State, and he told the Europeans, look, we're going to have an agonizing reappraisal of our commitments if you all don't really pony up. Ike said in 1949, 1950, he was the first military commander of NATO, if we're still in Europe in 10 years, then I will say we have failed. He urged Jack Kennedy to start bringing the troops home. The point is, the Cold War has been over for 30 years. The Warsaw Pact is finished. The Soviet Empire is finished. The Soviet Union is finished. In Moscow is not a communist dictator who is responding to Marxist-Leninist ideology. It's a autocrat, Vladimir Putin, who's looking out for Russia first. So it's a brand new world, and Trump is saying, look, how long does this country, after 70 years, have to carry the hod for your defense when all of Europe taken together is as rich as the United States and 10 times as rich as Russia?
Yeah, and I would say also that when you have Germany making tens of billions of dollars on this pipeline, the second pipeline that they approved, all these German interests that are in bed with the Russians, and both Rosneft and Gazprom and all these other consulting entities that these former German officials beyond just Gerhard Schröder are involved in. This is huge money. Like, always follow the money, huge money. And the fact that Germany was saying, I guess they're going to speed it up now after Trump basically read them the Riot Act, but the fact that Germany is saying through Merkel, oh, well, we'll get there by 2024, long after Merkel's out of office, and all the other countries long after those leaders are out of office, that just doesn't help us. It really doesn't.
It doesn't help us, and the truth is, what the Europeans are doing is they're paying what they want for defense and what they believe they need. I mean, you take Spain and Portugal are at 1%. The reason is, they don't fear Russia, that the Red Army is going to come busting through the Fulda Gap and hit the English Channel. They're not afraid of Russia, and Germany is spending what it wants to spend. I saw a poll where the German people, a plurality of them would like to have the Americans leave, and something like only 15% want to increase defense spending there. I think we got to take a real look. I mean, NATO has been the most successful alliance in history, but it was as of 30 years ago. And how relevant is it today, where the United States of America is committed to go to war if the Russians get into an argument with Estonia and the shooting starts?
Well, and I think, again, how many Americans wanted us or thought we should go to war in Crimea? I mean, we had all these reporters this morning at this press event with Trump, and they were saying, well, did you make any headway? Are you going to bring up the Crimea issue with Putin? And what are you going to say? What are you going to do? And I think Trump is probably thinking to himself, we're not going to war over Crimea. This was the other guy's problem, which is what the president said this morning.
Yeah, well, look, Sebastopol has been the naval base of the Russian fleet, Black Sea Fleet, since the time of Catherine the Great in the 18th century. And when we helped dump over that government in Ukraine, Putin says, look, they're either going to dump over this government, they're going to join NATO, and I'm going to have to salute NATO troops as I go to visit my naval base. So he took the Crimea back. But when did Crimea become a vital interest of the United States? When I was in Crimea with Richard Nixon in 1974, Brezhnev was there, his dacha was there, it was part of the Soviet Union, and so it was connected to the Ukrainian Republic, if you will. When they broke away, they had it, and he took it back. But why is that an argument over which the United States should go to war? When did Crimea become a vital interest of the United States of America 6,000 miles away?
This is what Donald Trump said about maybe having a better relationship with Vladimir Putin.
You think you're going to get along with President Putin at that meeting? Could you just tell us, why do you think that? Is there something you admire about him?
Well, he's a competitor. He's been very nice to me the times I've met him. I've been nice to him. He's a competitor. You know, somebody was saying, is he an enemy? No, he's not my enemy. Is he a friend? No, I don't know him well enough. But the couple of times that I've gotten to meet him, we got along very well. You saw that. I hope we get along well. I think we get along well. But ultimately, he's a competitor. He's representing Russia. I'm representing the United States. So, in a sense, we're competitors. Not a question of friend or enemy. He's not my enemy. And hopefully someday maybe he'll be a friend. It could happen. But I just don't know him very well.
Well, that sent them all, as we noted, as we bumped into the segment. That's what that's what they all go crazy about. We'll play another soundbite in a second, which is the one I really wanted to play. But your reaction, just that the Trump characterization of the relationship.
Well, the president is right. Look, we don't have vital interests in conflict. We've got a lot we can work on together, from space flights. I think we got similar objectives in Syria, basically. We're working with them on deconfliction and getting rid of ISIS. And in all these areas, then you have some areas in conflict, but we're the two greatest nuclear powers in the history of the world. We've got thousands of nuclear weapons, and you have to work and get along with people like that in this world. And, why is it that, Reagan got along fine with Gorbachev, Nixon got along with Brezhnev, and other presidents. Eisenhower invited Khrushchev to the United States, because you got to get along with these people in this world, and you got to negotiate with them and talk to them, and you want to have the relationship as least antagonistic as possible. I don't know what is wrong with that. Conservatives during the Cold War were berated for telling presidents, be cautious, and now the liberals are telling us, be hostile.
No, it's the most bizarre thing. And I think when the president was discussing the notion that these member nations would pay more, and NATO pay more in toward their military, he floated the idea that, well, maybe we'll have a better relationship with Russia after I get through with what I'm going to do with Putin. And let's listen to that part of the soundbite.
Did you win any concessions in your meeting and discussions with the German chancellor when it comes to German defense spending, and also this issue of purchasing energy from Russia?
Germany has increased very substantially their time period, and Germany's coming along, and we still have to figure out what's going on with the pipeline, because the pipeline is coming in from Russia, but we're going to figure that out. And frankly, maybe everybody's going to have a good relationship with Russia, so there'll be a lot less problem with the pipeline. Germany has agreed to do a lot better than they were doing, and we're very happy with that. We had a very good relationship with Angela Merkel.
Well,
I think he meant they were going to shrink the timeline back from 2024 to maybe 2 years from now.
There has been an increase in defense spending, as I understand it, almost
Obama.
all along the line with NATO. But I'll tell you this, Laura, there clearly you see in the president, he may be a negotiating strategy to come in very tough and hard and then try to get something committed. But I sense in the president a real exasperation a feeling that, when, say, Germany and Japan are each spending 1% of GDP on defense, and we're spending 4%, and we're the frontline state for both of them, defending both of them, and they're running up these huge trade surpluses at our expense, that he feels the deal is not a good deal worldwide for the United States of America. And as an America First guy, he's going to take a look at everything. And I'm telling you, I genuinely believe that, he is taking a hard look at just whether or not NATO serves the vital interest of the United States if it's going to be America carrying the hod and these folks following along in our wake.
Well, I mean, but then at the end of the summit, Pat, he reaffirmed the importance of NATO, said today at the press conference it was vital. You saw those Republicans rush forward, and Democrats, 97-2, a resolution about NATO's importance yesterday.
I think, look, the American people's view is that NATO is hugely successful, and they got a very positive view of it. It prevented World War III, a hot war in Europe, and we held the line there until the Soviet Union and the Soviet Empire completely imploded, and we got, Reagan's victory in the Cold War and George H.W. Bush at the end of the Cold War. So people are very positive about it, but I'll tell you, the American people are also very positive about Trump's drive to make these folks pay more for what is fundamentally their defense in Central Europe.
Well, and I also believe that, again, it's so refreshing, Pat, to have an American president worried about how much stuff costs. He doesn't act like there's no end to the pocketbook here. That's refreshing.
It is indeed, and I'll tell you what else is there. The American foreign policy elite has mismanaged the post-Cold War disastrously. They got us deeply involved in all these wars all across the Middle East. We're in about half a dozen of them, from Afghanistan to Libya to Yemen to Syria, Iraq, and all the rest. They've mismanaged that. The Europeans are, by and large, free riders on America's defense in Europe. The Japanese and the South Koreans have economies South Korea is 40 times as large as the North. Japan's about 100 times. And take a look at the North Koreans spend 22% of their GDP on defense. That's a little rocket man is leading a serious crowd. And the South Koreans spend less than 3%, and they're running up trade surpluses at our expense. I mean, if President Trump is throwing stuff around the Oval Office, when he reads these statistics, I can't blame him, and I don't think the American people do either.
Pat Buchanan here on your Healthy Radio Addiction. Pat, thank you so much.